This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today being Tuesday, we're doing a top 5 list. And the topic under discussion today, as I'm sure you've seen from the video thumbnail and title, well, it's basically about the 5 ways that I think things have changed for the worse over the few decades it's been since I was a young guitar playing chap. Inevitably, a video like this is going to have an element of, the kind of when I were a lad, kind of Monty Python Yorkshireman thing going on, or maybe even, old man yells at cloud, and I'm just going to embrace that and own it, to be honest with you. Why not? Don't get me wrong, I welcome the advances, the technological developments and advances which have made all of our lives that much more convenient and easy in the past few decades. Certainly as far as the quality of affordable guitars go, thanks to CNC manufacturing and so on, then yeah, I'm all for that. I don't want to kind of rewind to the days when, a cheap guitar meant a cheap and nasty guitar. No, thank you. All I'm saying is that these advances, though, haven't come without their own costs. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, starting with...
We didn't have guitar tuners.
Yes, we didn't have guitar tuners back then. They were around, but they were not exactly as affordable as they are today. Not as many people had them. It was still the default setting, if you like, that you tuned up by ear. And that meant that many people's, or most guitar players, shall we say, their sense of pitch awareness was a lot keener because you were using it every time you picked the instrument to tune up. And this kind of overlapped a little bit with my my early days, 30 odd years ago, as a guitar teacher. Back then people were still, for the most part, tuning up by ear a lot of the time. And I didn't have as many students who were having issues with getting string bends accurately pitched and so on. These days, there was a student I had a couple of years ago who he would always play with his headstock tuner clipped on, and it was always switched on, and that was so that he could tell whether he was hitting the string bend to the right note or not. And I just used to say, mate, why don't you just listen? Develop that skill of hearing when the note sounds in tune. To my mind, it's a little bit like the advent of a thing from the past, a pocket calculator. Do those things still exist, or is it just an app on your phone now? But, they took away the tiresome burden of having to do mental arithmetic when you were in a hurry. But, now I think with guitar tuners, we've got to the point where it's a little bit like giving a pocket calculator to a child and saying, there you go, don't bother learning to add up, there's no need to. When you can, I think that, we would all do a lot better every now and again to just tune it by ear from time to time, just to kind of work that muscle. I'm being a hypocrite because I don't do it, but it would be good if we all did, wouldn't it? So, yeah, guitar tuners, a blessing, but they don't come without their cost either. Next.
We didn't have guitar tuners.
Yeah, guitar tuners again. As I said, we used to tune up by ear, and the method, for those of you under the age of 30, or possibly even 40, that you would do it is you would get this string in tune to some external reference, a pitch pipe, a tuning fork, whatever, and then you would go to the 5th fret on this string, and that would be the note you tune the next string to. Then the 5th fret on this string would give you the note to tune the next string to. The 5th fret on that string would give you the note to tune the next one to. The 4th fret on the 3rd string would give you the note to tune the second, and the 5th fret on the 2nd string would give you the note to tune the 1st string to. So if you knew that your strings were tuned E, A, D, G, B, E, then you knew that this at the 5th fret on the E string was an A note. You knew that the 5th fret on the A string was a D. The 5th fret on the D string was a G. The 4th fret on the G was a B, and the 5th fret on the B was an E note. And one of my students, he's also a mate of mine, multi-instrumentalist, has said how bizarre he finds it, because like he plays violin, flute, bagpipes and piano, as well as guitar. And he said every other instrument he's learned, lesson 1, day 1, you learn what notes are where on that instrument. But on the guitar, you can get to quite an intermediate or even advanced level of competency on the instrument and not have a clue where the notes are just by memorising shapes and patterns. It is an advantage if you know what notes are where on the instrument, and just this relative tuning method was just an obvious way into kind of getting to know your instrument a little bit better. And I think it's, just a bit regrettable that people don't kind of have that, what would you call it, that head start on learning the fretboard anymore that you get from tuning by ear. Anyway, let's see what's next.
There were no amp models or impulse responses.
Again, we didn't have a million different amp models and impulse responses to sculpt our tone. I had a guy come to me for a lesson not that long ago, and he had some, I can't remember what amp modeler it was. It might have been one of the Helix family or possibly a Quad Cortex, something like that. And he was explaining to me why he needed this. And he plays in a kind of rock covers band, so he needs, and they do some Queen stuff, so he needs a Brian May kind of patch in there. He needs an AC30, treble boost, and he needs, for the AC/DC stuff, he needs Marshall tones, and for the Dire Straits stuff, he needs a Fender Deluxe reverb, and he needs all these things. And he went through and made a convincing argument as to why he needed all this stuff. And I said, well, back in the day, I would play material like that with my covers band back in the 90s, and I had, a 2-channel Marshall amp, a chorus pedal, and a channel switch, and maybe I think I might have had a tube screamer as well. And it worked, I mean, you don't, I don't want to say you don't need all of that technology. If you feel you need it, then you need it. All I'm saying is it was possible to play in a covers band covering that breadth of styles with just a clean and dirty amp with maybe a little bit of chorus from time to time. Does your drummer swap out the snare drum, to correspond with the snare sound on the tracks that you're covering? I think I probably know the answer is no to that. So we didn't have the option paralysis, is what I'm saying, that all of these kind of incredibly affordable and accurate sounding amp models and impulse responses that we have now, and amp profiling. I've just been watching a video about about this new Tone X1 pedal, and I just thought, yeah, I would spend more time scrolling through menus on the editor software than I would actually playing the thing. So no thank you, I'll just stick with my amp that has a clean and a dirty channel, and and I can pretty much do everything I need to do with that, like we used to in the old days. So there you go. Next,
we didn't have tabs to learn from.
Yeah, no, tabs did exist back then, but they were published in book form that you had to travel to a shop to buy the book. And then you had to, and, I'm being a hypocrite here because I do tabs for all of the stuff that I put up online. I enjoy tabbing stuff out. It's like, for me, it's, getting a solo tab down is a little bit, it's as satisfying as doing a cryptic crossword. But it's recreational problem solving puzzles, that the element that I like about it. But we didn't tend to rely upon tabs, is what I'm saying, back in the late 70s through to the 90s. They were there, but your default setting once again was to figure stuff out by ear. So consequently, again, back to this pitch perception thing that I was talking about regarding tuners, musicians tended to have better ears for picking stuff up back then, because that was how you did it. You would, be invited to join a band, or you'd form a band or whatever. Anytime a band was getting together and a set list had to be learned, there would be a cassette doing the rounds, because, this was before the days of CD copying or file sharing or emailing a Dropbox link with a song. Somebody had run off a cassette of, the songs that you were going to learn for the set, and you'd learn it from that, pause, rewind. What's that chord again? Okay, pause, rewind, and eventually you'd get there. And, if you were any good at what you were doing, then you would you would learn the songs accurately, and if you didn't learn them accurately, then you probably weren't going to last too long in the band, because it's a little bit different when you're a guitar player. Guitar player's a tenner penny. Finding a decent keyboard player, that was always the tricky thing if you needed one. Really, really difficult to get keyboard players, so they could get away with being a little bit kind of not quite as on point. But if you're a guitarist, you just had to learn the stuff, learn it accurately by ear, and that's how you did it, and that's why you had usually, I suppose, a better sense of again, pitch awareness and an ear for working things out, that I think is lacking today because people are overly perhaps reliant upon tabs. Next.
We didn't have the internet to divide us.
Yes, now we didn't have the internet to divide us. Go back to the early 90s or late 80s or any period before the internet was kind of a big thing. And if you happened by chance to meet someone that shared a common interest with you, you'd probably like playing the guitar. You'd probably strike up a conversation. You'd probably, think, oh, you like that, do you? Well, I'm not quite into that, but, I like this player instead, and, oh, what is it you like about them? And you'd have, you might go for a beer and talk about it, and just, even though you didn't see eye to eye on everything, you probably made a new friend. It's not like that now, though, is it? You head off to any of the guitar themed areas on social media or, forums and stuff like that, and it's, what, you believe in tone wood? What are you, mad? Or, well, you said coil tap when you should have said coil split. You know nothing, you're an idiot. Or, what are you playing through an amp modeler for? Shouldn't you be using a real amp? Why are you playing through a real amp? Shouldn't you be using a modeler? Get with the technology. And it's just, all of this kind of stuff. It's one of the reasons why I, kind of sacked the whole social media thing a few years ago. I just don't do it because it was just a place where people seem to go to argue. I don't know if it's still like that. I suspect it probably is. But, the internet is, because you're not disagreeing with someone in person, where you would probably do it mildly and have a respectful discussion and say, all right, okay, well, I've never really thought of it like that. Now it just comes out as, the caps lock keyboard warrior kind of type that love yelling at each other because, someone holds a different opinion to you. And, we didn't have that back in the day. And I think that was, we were better off for it. So there you go. Those are the 5 things that I think are, sadly, the costs of the developments and advances and technological marvels that us as guitar players have benefited from over the past couple of decades or so. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Have you experienced any of this? Or is it just me being an old man yelling at the cloud? Let me know what you think. But that is the video for today, folks. Hope you've found it relatively entertaining. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. And don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time. We drink beer and talk about stuff, music, guitars, whatever. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.